Students will be able to classify and measure angles. Okay, we talked a little bit about these words already.
Angle. Angle.
Does anybody know how we name an angle? We talked a lot about yesterday about naming parallel lines, perpendicular lines, line segments. When we name an angle, we have to have 3 points. We're going to name it by those 3 points. The angle is the vertex of the angle, which is this word right here, is always this point where the 2 lines or rays come together. That is always going to be the middle letter or point of your angle when you name it. So you would say angle ABC, or you can say angle CBA, as long as B is the center point.
Vertex. Protractor. Degrees.
Okay, a vertex is where the 2 rays meet to form the angle. Protractor is the tool we use to measure an angle, and degrees is the unit of measurement for angles.
How can you measure an angle? Think about this question during the lesson. An angle is formed by 2 rays that have the same endpoint. The common endpoint of the 2 rays is called the vertex, plural, vertices. The rays are the sides of the angle. The 2 rays that form the angle are ray BA and ray BC. How do you name an angle?
Okay, we talked about that. How would I name this angle? If you were telling me, what would you say? This is angle. Who can do that? Bella? Okay, angle ABC or angle CBA?
You use an angle symbol followed by the names of the 3 points that make the angle. The vertex point must be the middle letter.
Okay, we talked a lot yesterday about those symbols. This angle symbol is very important. If you don't have that in front of those 3 points or those 3 letters, then it's not showing us that you know what the angle is.
How would you name this angle? You can name this angle 3 ways: angle ABC, angle CBA, or angle B.
Okay, so I wasn't sure if they were going to tell you that, but you can use all 3 points to name that angle. However, you can also just say that this is angle B by naming the vertex.
When you measure an angle, what part of the angle are you measuring? You are measuring the space between the 2 rays when you measure an angle.
Okay, so the measurement that we get, that degree, is this space between here, this part that's farther apart, the space between the 2 rays. So if this makes a perfect square, does anybody know what that angle degree is? If it's a square angle? Tammy? 90 degrees. What type of angle is 90 degrees? Lawson? A So if this was straight up 90 degrees, that 90-degree measurement would be the outer measurement.
You can use a protractor to measure and draw angles. Angles are measured in degrees. It takes 90 degrees to fill a square corner.
Notice where 90 degrees is. It's straight up from the center.
How do you use a protractor to measure the degrees of an angle?
If you look on your protractors, a lot of times there's a dot or a hole in the very center. See where that Q, that vertex of Q is? You're always going to put this dot or hole over that vertex. So look at your protractor now and see if you can find that.
Mine has like a handle.
Okay.
Some of them don't have a hole, but just a line.
Or if yours has a handle, that's usually where that handle is attached. And then actually, there's a hole in the middle of that as well.
My my angle's 95 degrees.
To measure an angle, place the protractor's center on the angle's vertex. Place the 0 degrees mark on one side of the angle. Read the measure where the other side of the angle crosses the protractor.
Okay. So you're going to put the vertex of the angle on that center point. I want everyone's eyes tracking the screen. Track. So the center point where this line is, or if you have a circle or a hole in your protractor, this is where you want to, that's where you want to put the vertex of your angle. Then you're going, this line should be parallel with the bottom of your protractor, or if there's a line drawn, it's going to be even. It's going to match up with that line. You're going to look at this ray of your angle that's going up, Dylan Allen, and you're going to see where it crosses the protractor. Now here is where a lot of confusion is. There are two numbers. Do you see that it says it's about 56 or, no, I'm sorry, 64. Take that back. 56 or 24. 124. So which one is it? Is it 60 degrees or is it 124 degrees? Okay, that's where they're going to get to this, but where you have to know what kind of angle is that. We have 3 different types of angles. Can anybody name them? Name one, Abby. Acute. Name another, Austin. Right, and we talked about that. It's a 90 degrees. So if this was a right angle, this ray would go straight up through 90 degrees. What's the third type of angle? Obtuse. Okay, so acute and obtuse, what's the difference? Katie?
The degree is smaller than obtuse.
Okay, so acute, the degree is smaller than 90 degrees, and obtuse is greater. So if we look at this angle, do you think it's greater or less than 90 degrees? Less than. So then we know, well, this angle has to be 56 degrees and not 124 degrees. Okay?
So think about it. Which one makes sense when you're looking at measuring angles?
Which set of numbers on the protractor should you use to measure this angle?
What do you guys think? Which set of numbers? top or bottom? Hadley? Bottom.
Use the inside set of numbers. These numbers start with 0, where the protractor is lined up with the ray. In what way is measuring with a protractor similar to measuring with a ruler?
How are they similar, Eli?
It has the measurements.
Okay.
You must always line up the vertex with 0 on the protractor, just like you start a measure of length from 0 on the ruler. The measure of angle PQR is 56 degrees. How would you use a protractor to draw an angle of 140 degrees? Draw a ray, TU. Be sure to label the endpoint T. Place the protractor's center on T. Line up ray TU with the 0 degree mark. Place a dot at 140 degrees, label it W, then draw ray TW.
Okay, so now you've measured angles, but now they're showing how you would draw an angle if you were given the degree measurement. So you always want to have, you're going to do your bottom ray first, and you just use the edge of your protractor to make a straight ray, and then you're going to line up what will be the vertex at the 0, and then follow it to 140 degrees, and then you make that point. Then you can turn your protractor and use the straight edge again to draw that ray.
How do you know which letter was the vertex of the ray TU? The vertex point was the point named first. Which set of numbers on the protractor should you use to measure this angle?
Which set of numbers did we use to measure that angle? Ellie?
The bottom.
The inside numbers?
Use the inside set of numbers to measure this angle. These numbers start with 0, where it is lined up with the ray TU. The measure of angle WTU is 140 degrees. You can now measure an angle in degrees using a protractor.